Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Mac Merlin stream. Tonight, we'll be doing a KBD75 V2 build. But first, I'd like to apologize. Normally, this stream is about... Wait, let's see. It's usually 6 hours ago, but just had stuff to take care of this afternoon. So yeah, gonna be a much later stream than usual. But unfortunately, as a result, I'm gonna try to do things a little bit quicker than usual. As a result, I probably will not be doing too many of the channel points things just because those take too much time, but maybe I'll do like 3 or something. We'll see. But let's see, who is online tonight? Who is online? I see a Daniel C. recent on Twitch, Thicky Jimmy, Death Fajitas, Zark. Who else is here? Lump Space Squid. Who else? Homie Zoned, Alan, Vro Timmy, Bookmonger. Thanks, guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. So before we start the show, what is Merlin drinking? I see someone already executed the drink command. But tonight we are doing just typical orange juice. Nothing special tonight. Just, yeah, orange and apple juice are two of my favorite juices. Oh yeah. Oh, I also see Kool-Aid Papa redeemed the hydrate command. Cool. Alright, so this is another customer build. He opted to use creams, lubed by yours truly. And get this. This is probably the very first, what do you call this? The first red KBD75 I've ever seen in person. So this is pretty cool. I've never seen what these look like in red. Check it out. See that? Oh, looks like he wants me to peel this off as well. All right, let's turn on some music. Let's pick this playlist right here. There we go. Zark says, Merlin, I finished something for once. Congratulations. What did you finish? Oh, I see. You posted a link. Awesome. Wave Dab subscribed at tier 1. Thank you so much. And you also scooped up an E-White Sunsetter earlier. All right. You got to tell everyone how that is once you get it. Very cool. But yeah, this is the first red KBD75 I have ever seen. Pretty cool. Let's see. Does this KBD75 have the same issue that I had with the black one? No, that weight doesn't move. Good. Manufactured better at least. Alright. Let's see. So I did say I was going to do things a little bit quicker tonight. So I've actually already pre-lubed all of the stabilizers. And I've just about attached them to the PCB. The customer today chose to use C3 Olivia stabilizers with black inserts from the looks of it. And this is the rose gold wire. So everything's been lubed, everything's been washered up and all that. Looks good. The only thing that I haven't done yet is actually to test the PCB. And if any of you guys are from the KBD Fans Discord, you know that the KBD75 has some issues with firmware. So what happened was that when these got supported by VIA, KBD Fans was just like, oh great, let's just flash the VIA firmware on it. So that's exactly what they did. The problem is VIA stores your key maps into EEPROM. So if there's something already on the EEPROM, like default KBD75, those two items are just gonna clash, you know? Those items are just gonna clash, and what's gonna happen is you will no longer be able to control your underglow lighting. So I suspect this is gonna be the case for this PCB, so just to get ahead of that, I will flash it with VIA as is. But before that, we will make sure that the PCB works. Here we go, okay. The lighting All the lights seem to be turning on, so that's good. But let's check that the actual keys work first. Let's do... Let's actually see if it's detectable by VIA first. That might be good. Come on, VIA, open up. Are you detecting it? Yes, you did detect it. Awesome. Very good. Here we go. VIA did detect the board, so the next thing to do is VIA able to control the lighting? Let's go to the lighting tab. Special QMK lighting, lighting. There we go. So if what I said earlier is true, you technically should not be able to control this at all. Solid color. Underglow color, let's pick red. Yep, that is true, you cannot control it. I'll pick green. Yep, it's not working. I will need to reflash this and clear that EEPROM. Okay, but first things first, let's actually test that the PCB works. Test that the PCB works. Let's see, Daniel says, noob here, what program are you using to test the keys? I'm using VIA, actually. VIA is not just a key tester, it is a key map configurator as well. Jomi says, are you a fan of the KBD75 layout, or you feel it's too cramped? I think it's too cramped, to be honest. Like, I like 75%, but it's not really... This particular brand of 75% I'm not really into. See, Lump Space Chris said, I'm new to Twitch. Don't know what I did with the channel points. So yeah, unfortunately, I probably won't do any spoken word quite yet, as I explained why at the start of the show. So yeah, we'll probably do it later on. Let's see. Come on. Why are you not detecting? There we go. Here, so you guys can see my progress as I go along. Come on. That is definitely what I did not want that. Let's try that again. Yeah, lump space squids. So basically, the longer that you hang around, you gain channel points, and the more that you have, you can redeem that. You can redeem that for certain channel rewards. So I've got a few of them right there. Let's see. Okay, let's start it all over again. Alright, so far so good. It's always good when everything's working. Okay, don't know what that is. I think it's probably like a print key or something. Those three aren't triggering. Just remap them in just a bit. Right, that's probably an FN key. Oh no, wait, that's an N key. Right there. Alright, looks like everything except these top 3 keys are not working. So we're just gonna be lazy and program them to something simple like ABC. How about that? ABC. And let's try it again. There we go. A, B, and C. Perfect. Okay, great. We are good. We are good. Okay, next thing I need to do is actually, I do need to keep this USB stuff in. So I need to reflash the board. Let's see. Got a couple more people talking here. What did I miss? What did I miss? Death Fragility says, new to custom keys, anything I should know? You should know that they are very, very expensive and you have lots of options out there. Maximum says, watch the VODs on YouTube. This is the first time I'm watching the stream. Keep up the good work. Thank you and welcome, welcome. So let's see. Death Vagitis once again says, which are the best? Feel the best? Springs. A lot of that is preference, as Sticky Jimmy is saying right here, actually. Says you have to mess around and try a bunch of things to find what you like. That is true. That is true. It's kind of like food. You know, you can't just say, what is the best food out there? Well, you know, that you just kind of have to go around and try as many as you can. All right, we are just going to clean this one up. Alright, where's that reset button? Ah, here we go. Reset. And then let's erase the EEPROM. Actually, the best way to do that is probably QMK Toolbox. So let me do that. Let me do that. Come on, QMK Toolbox. Where are you at? QMK Toolbox. There we go. There it is. Clear EEPROM. Perfect. It works now. See, Space Lights followed me. Thank you so much. And I also see a Siri Jack has followed me as well. Thank you so much. Let's see. How can I fix this? Alright, we are now flashing the board with the appropriate VIA firmware. Let's see. And once I do this, I should be able to control it in VIA now. We'll try. We'll see. We'll see. And flashing. There we go. Okay. Let's open up VIA once again. Alright, it detects it. Let's check the lighting. Underglow color, change it to blue. Boom! Yes, there we go. We fixed it. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, we can actually get to building this now. Yay! Yay, yay, yay. Makes me feel so much better. Perfect. All right. Right. So today's customer is actually Siri Jack right here, who just followed me 9 minutes ago. He opted to go for a brass plate and lubed creams. Check it out. Lubed creams. Pretty interested to see how creams will feel on a tray mounted board, just because I've never felt that before. So this should be interesting. Let's see. Check that out. Check that out. Koi Key says, to be honest, it's not all preference. There are switches that are more popular in the hobby. Wouldn't that be the definition of preference? Bro Timmy, 100 bits, thank you so much. Space Light says, jazz music when flushed? When flushed? I don't know what that means. Here we go, let's see. So usually, okay. So if you guys have ever built with creams before, you know that these are hella tight. Like when you put them in a brass plate or pretty much any plate and the switch itself is broken, you know, it's so hard to remove it off of the plate. That's how tight they are. So hopefully none of these are broken. Chances are very low that they're broken, but you just never know. You just never know. Dicky Jamie says he put the flushed face. Oh, okay. There we go, let's see. The way I like to do this is I like to put all the creams into the plate first. That way I can make sure that it's at the very least flush with the plate. Oh, there we go. Let's do it. Let's do this. Make sure all the legs are straight. That's the way to do it. Joami says, still breaking in my creams before lube. Yeah, these were like, I don't know if these were broken in. They were just handed to me in a bag and I lubed them. So who knows? Maybe the customer broke them in, maybe they did not. Dum 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 dum. Bro Timmy says, Merlin, I just work here. I don't know what you mean by that. Whew. All that snapping. Oh yeah, like getting the switches and lubing them prior to knowledge of use. Yeah. I'm not gonna break people's switches in for them. That's just too much work. I ain't got time for that. 303N says, anyone remember how many keys in a standard Alice layout? You can go on QMK Configurator, find that particular Alice layout that you want, and look at the bottom right hand portion. It will tell you exactly how many switches are there. So you got those new from Novelkey. Ah, okay, so they're not broken in at all. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, these are at least smoother than stock now. Because of the lube that I did. The cream on brass looks amazing. I know, right? Alright, we're just gonna populate probably half of this first, and then, who was it? Robeandhat. No, not Robeandhat. Lump Space Squid. We're gonna do the spoken word just for you. Daniel says, is it better to break in keys before or after lubing? Typically the break-in process it's another word for it is wearing in. So if you've already lubed it, you can't really wear it in as much until the lube is all gone. So in particular for creams are the only switch I've heard of people having to break in before lubing. Everything else people are like, oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, that's not straight. Lump Space Squid, are you still on? I'm gonna do your spoken word in just a bit. Man, these feel pretty good. Well, I guess he's not on. He will not be enjoying my spoken word then, I guess. Well, if he shows up again later, I'll do the spoken word just for him. Whew. Out of curiosity, how many people on stream have owned or currently own a KBD75? Sumex has none. Holton did about 2 to 3 years ago, but sold it a while back. Ooh. Yeah, I feel like KBD75s are one of the entry-level boards that come in. So Holton, considering you have been in this hobby for quite some time, I could imagine you have owned it and sold it. Carno says currently own Gazoo silent linears. Jomi says always wondered, is your hat comfortable? It is the most uncomfortable thing I've ever worn in my life. But I do it for you guys, you know. Bro, Timmy does not like the layout. Hung says, thanks for reviewing GMK Maestro. Yeah. Well, it's not so much a review, but more of me just saying, oh, this caught my attention. My hat isn't droopy tonight. Jeremy says we appreciate it. The things I do for my audience. Satisfaction 75 is going to be dropping soon. Will you be getting one this time for yourself? Maybe. Haven't quite decided. Like, one of the things I disliked about the Satisfaction 75 was the size of that USB port. Was not really something that I found good looking. And there was something about like the angle of the Satisfaction 75, like typing on it on my desk wasn't a very comfortable experience for me. So I don't know, maybe it might not, we'll see. I do appreciate that he has improved the ESD protection on it, but I never had problems with ESD anyway, so you know, we'll see. See, Jeremy says, I feel like the ID80 takes the place of the KBD75. Yeah, I could see that. Where do you buy that exact hat? The one that he's wearing? Well, you can't buy it. It's priceless. Scott Water says, could always sell your current SAT75. Oh, I already sold mine a long time ago after I decided I wasn't really into it. I was like, nope. There it goes. Proprietary wizard hat, says Holton. Yeah. CK said the USB port on SAT75V2 is smaller. Yes, that is true. It is indeed smaller, but still too big for my standards. Like, I like my USB ports to be flush with the actual USB port. Von Born says, just curious for a price check. What would a built KBD75 V2 go for? I joined Hive 60 after watching the stream and need money back. A built KBD75? I don't even know how much these are new. Like, I think, here, let's go look. KBD75. KBD fans. Here, you guys can follow along right here. Oop, that's not the page I want. I want... Here we go. A built KBD75, so the kit itself is $189, assuming, depends what switches that you put on it and what stabilizers. I would imagine like, probably brand new, maybe closer to 300. Daniel says the new price is $480. Oh, okay. But I probably would not spend more than $200 on one. Oh, Daniel said sorry for the SAT75. Oh, okay. I was like, 480 seems way too high for a KBD75. Check latest post on Mech Market. Whew. Rice SV has followed. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Okay. Let's see. I think we have enough to actually lay the PCB over it and start to do some soldering. Should be good, I hope. Bon Boy says, I guess maybe spammy, but how about vintage blacks? If you're guessing it might be spammy, why do you still insist on doing so? The vintage blacks, man. I have not bought vintage blacks in a long time. But I think back then, back in like 2015 or so, I used to sell like a pack of 60 vintage blacks or something for about 40 bucks, if I remember correctly. I used to desolder Wise boards, a bunch of vintage black type boards, and all that. Feeble Minded says vintage blacks are a lottery. Yeah, I can agree to that. Super scratchy, they can be super scratchy and a waste of money, yeah. I have one board that I've long since sold. It was a new in box with the vintage blacks, like completely untouched, still in its like plastic wrapping and all that, and they were the scratchiest vintage blacks I'd ever tried, simply because they were never used. Alright, I think we have enough switches in that we can actually start soldering. Let's do that. And everything seems to sit flush. Yep, looks good. Looks good, alright. Pardon me as I turn on my fume extractor. Let's see. Oh, I think that's Hazards. Hazards has subscribed. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What fume extractor do I use? I use an unbranded one that I picked up from my local electronics store. What caps am I going to put on the 75 today? The customer sent me keycaps to put on. I think they are EPBT something. But yeah, that's always really nice when the customer sends me caps. That way I don't need to take apart one of my own keyboards. Oh, that's good. I'll show you guys just a bit here. What was it like soldering your first board? I want to try, but I'm low-key scared. So the thing was, I've learned how to solder for a very long time. So soldering my first board wasn't too difficult for me, to be honest. Like, to be honest, it's through hole. So through hole is probably the easiest thing you can solder, in my opinion. Let's see, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Wati Yakong says, "What's up, Merlin? Been watching a lot of your YouTube vids. Love what you're doing. Thank you so much, and thank you for following." Homie Zone is, y'all didn't learn it in middle school. I did not learn it in middle school. I learned it in college. Das Suavi has followed. Thank you. Like, I learned how to solder in college, not necessarily because of a class, but because I was into guitars and I wanted to change my own pickups, you know? And to have the local guitar shop change it for you would cost, at the time, was like 80 bucks. And as a college student, I did not have 80 bucks. So, had to learn to do it myself with school resources. How do I know if I've done a good solder job? Well, number one, to know that you've done a good job is first you verify that everything works. You know, like I press the switch and the key actuates. The second part is make sure all of your joints are conical. They're not like cold joints, they're not blobs, they're conical. And number two, like, okay, so not all the streamers do this, but I also like to clean up the PCB, clean up excess flux. Alright, we're gonna try and pop out that one switch that the leg got bent. Yep, that's it. Yeah, Molly says it works. Yeah, that's really like the first test you should do, but as I said earlier, you know, make sure your joints look pretty. It's another way to tell. Right. Yep. Bent the leg. King Friday says, I just leave the flux on because you assume you will desolder. Anyone got that Andromeda? Basically, does anyone have 750 bucks? If you guys don't know what we're talking about, the Andromeda is a new TKL from IO3, WKL only, and it is $750. You never realized how good Olivia++ looked? Yeah. It's actually one of my favorite colorways. Is GMK Cafe pretty similar to Olivia? Absolutely not. GMK Cafe uses different colors, but in terms, I guess, in terms of how those colors are organized, then yeah. Lighter colors on the alphas, darker colors on the mods, brighter color on the accents. Are the alphas of Olivia++ like the alphas of black on white? The alphas here are the GMK color CP. So depends which black on white you're talking about, because yeah, I'm pretty sure one of those used CP and another one used WS1. Bond Boy says, how do they compare to GMK Monochrome? I don't know what the colors of Monochrome are. I'd have to, like, what I recommend you doing is looking up Olivia and looking up the colors used in Olivia, then looking up Monochrome and the colors used in Monochrome and comparing the two that way. There we go. Alright, I think I can put the rest of the switches in. So far so good. Okay, I'm gonna put them in one by one so I don't bend any more pins. You've been trying to trade your Kuroshiro for monochrome and have had no luck at all. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Kuroshiro an EPBT set and monochrome is a GMK set? Like, I don't think anyone would ever agree to a trade like that. GMK monochrome is worth a whole lot more than Kuroshiro in that sense. Whew, that is tight fitting. Oh my gosh. Rice SB says, did you end up entering the U80A Sequence 2 group buy? No, I did not. Scott Water says, especially on something like monochrome, probably sells for 400 on the aftermarket. Yeah. Monochrome's just worth way too much. Way more than Kuroshiro. Should I lube my box silent pinks? You should lube them if you find them not smooth enough. That is my answer. I feel like way too often in this community, everyone tells people, you need to lube, you need to film, you need to do this, you need to do that. And it's like people just blindly follow that without wondering why they should do it. So I think if you find that your switches are not smooth enough, then by all means lube them. But if you're happy with how smooth they are, and will be happy for a considerably long time, then you don't really have to. Will lube improve your switch? Most definitely. Dickie Jamie says, did you get in on the Mark 65? No, I did not. Do films work on box switches? I think you need box film switches, or I'm sorry, box switch films. That one is bent. Let me fix that one up. Whew. Tight, tight, tight. All right. We can solder the rest in. What are some of the tiny details on the board that you really pay attention to? The big stuff for me is PCB design, actually. Like, if a board doesn't have ESD protection, doesn't have a reset button like this board does, doesn't have USB-C, traces aren't organized properly, there are no breakouts, there's no overcurrent protection, over voltage protection. A lot of that stuff bothers me. In terms of aesthetics, physical aesthetics and stuff like that, I like boards that, you know, look like you can see the board. Like, for example, on a Hive 60 that I have here, I like how the bezels are thick, you know? If it's too thin, like, sure, it makes it more portable, but it also doesn't look all that great. Stuff like that. There's like a bunch of other stuff too, but those are probably the main ones that I noticed right away. Right. I think I've got almost all the switches in place. I'm gonna save this bottom row for when I have the keycaps. So I'm just gonna solder all the rest of the switches. The second leg of all the switches, I mean. Here we go. Man, some of these legs are so close to like other components of a board. It's kind of nerve-wracking to start soldering it like that. But I can do it. It's not my first rodeo. see. There we go. Second row done. I see a couple more people following. Joe, Jolin, Rolms, Rio Keyboards. Thanks, guys. All right. What loon did I use? Lube. I used 205G0. It's what I have the most of, so it's what I use. Oh, you're talking with Prilosec. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think 205G0 is the most popular lube for linear switches. Jomi says, is the work life of a software engineer hard? It can be, and yeah, as Iron Geeky says, depends where you work. Depends where you work, depends what team you work. Daniel C says, redeemed hydrate, thank you. Tire God says, good evening, MacMerlin in chat. Good evening to you too. Alright, this is the tricky one. I need to solder it from the other side so I don't accidentally budge any of the components. Are buttercreams worth making? I really like mine. So far so good. Basically, for those of you who don't know what buttercreams are a switch I devised, quote unquote, devised. Probably in 2018, 2019. Basically, it's just a Gateron yellow stem in a cream housing. Lubed, of course, for that buttery smooth feel. Daniel says, do I have an opinion on the White Fox, Black Fox keyboard? How do those compare to the KBD75? I've owned one White Fox over the years. I liked it. In terms of comparing it with the KBD75, I'd say they're about the same tier. If you're talking about quality and features. I believe current White Foxes, though, are auto-routed, so the traces on the PCB are all over the place. That might not be something you necessarily care about, but for me, that would annoy me. What is the feel sound difference between buttercreams? If you want to hear the sound difference, you can go on my YouTube and look for my series with it. How it feels, I think it felt smoother. Static says you found that you love that you can build the KBD75 V2 with the numpad layout. Yeah, it's cool and all, but at the same time, if you go with the V2 PCB like what this guy has, the board gets a little bit more Swiss cheesy. There are extra holes for the stabilizers, extra holes for the numpad layout, all that stuff. So granted, if you are using a plate, it might not matter all that much, but still, you know. Jomi says, have you tried the bottom housing and stem of a JWK with the top of a cream? No, I have not. And lots of JWK switches have different top and bottom combinations. So, you know, you've got UHMWP, you've got nylon, you've got palm, so it depends on which one you're talking about exactly. Alpacas, ah, okay. Yeah, I have not tried putting a cream top on one. Here, hold on, let's... I always forget. What's the... Oh, Jason Leung has subscribed. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jason. Let's see, what's the alpaca formulation? The alpaca formulation is a... The top is polycarb and the bottom is nylon. And a cream is basically just all palm, so it would be polycarb top, palm bottom. I think there's a JWK switch that already does that. Static Age redeemed spoken word. All right, let me just finish up these last couple switches and we'll do it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's already a JWK switch that does polycarb top and palm bottom. If I'm not mistaken, I think that might be the original aspiration switches, OA switches. Someone has got to look that up for me. Does it sound stockier? I bet it does. Polygin says OA. Yeah, I was right. Yeah, there it is. OA switches. Dizzy Alex says, heyo, heyo to you too. Oh, they're UHMWP. Okay, never mind. Yeah, I don't have the specific formulations all memorized and all that. See, Dizzy says, what upcoming GMK sets? Well, currently I'm hoping to get in on GMK Grand Prix. Other than that, I don't know. See, Bacon Tuna says, I have to keep a spreadsheet to keep track of all this stuff. Yeah, I know, right? There's just too many different combinations and all that. Alright, Static Age, we are going to do a spoken word. Let me turn off all my fans here really quick. Daniel C., I see that you followed. Thank you so much. Homie Zone says, no rainy day. Dude, I can only afford to probably buy one GMK set a quarter. I'm not gonna, you know, buy a couple every month. Let's see. Let's find it. Here we go. Let's do this. Here we go. Here we go. Static Age, are you even here? If you're not here, I won't do it. Static Age is there. Okay, perfect. All right, let's do this. Let us do it. All right. Let's say, let's do a random one. Let's go click a couple times. Woo! All right, here we go. Let's do this one. After will live. Okay. That's a good starting phrase, right? After will life. Here. Static Age, do you have any particular style you would like me to do it in? If I can. Is there a particular style you would like me to do this in? Incantation mode. Okay, okay. Okay, let's try this. Let's try this. Oh no, wait. Zark said incantation mode. Static Age says Shatner. Um I I don't know who that is. What is Shatner? William Shatner. William Shatner. Xenophobia says, what a zoomer. Oh, okay. USS Enterprise. Okay, okay, yeah. Unfortunately, I was not born and raised in the Western world. I was born and raised in Taipei, Taiwan, where shows like these were not in circulation, at least until the late 90s or so. So yeah, I don't really know. I think... Oh, this is the... I've seen him on some insurance commercials. Yeah, I've seen him on some... And is it the Priceline guy? Okay. Well, Static Age, do you have someone else? Do you have any other style you would like me to do this in? 'Cause look at that. Look at that. The Negotiator. Priceline Negotiator. Incantation mode then. Okay. Alright, let's see if I can get this right. Turn on, make sure it's not too much. Yeah, I just know him as the insurance guy.
Mic test. There we go. How's that? Is that deep enough for you? It's a little bit too high. There we go, there we go, there we go.
Alright, Static Age, this is just for you. Incantation mode.
After will life and call have work no right out develop between I few group home this seem I problem help another hand line there because very I with those form hand take number never give those these make very large help one and much most with we seem also.
Zark says, finally, Merlin's voice is as deep as mine for once. Though says, I feel like I'm being invaded. Oh, man. Someone clip that. The best 3,000 points. Alright, well, let's try and get this board done. Actually, guys, that was my segue into advertising GMK Demon Sword. No, I'm kidding. All right, see, the customer was kind enough to send me a key set to try along with this. Let's see. Dizzy Alex says, did you see the IC for GMK Stealth? I think I glanced over it. There we go. This is a... What profile is this? You still prefer Merlin style? Well, if you redeem it, you can request any particular style, and I will try my best to accommodate. Of course, I need to know what it is. Let's see, what is this? This looks like... It's not DSA, definitely not DSA. It almost looks like NP? I think this is NP. The first NP I've ever seen. Zark says, NP. Oh, okay. Yeah, I am NP. Can we get a close-up of it? I think it's NP. Here, let me lower my brightness a bit so the white doesn't glare too much. There we go. Yeah, I've never actually seen an NP set before. Yeah, it looks like NP, but I'm not so sure. Let's see, any markings? Oh, yep, it's an NP set. It says NP inside. Yep, NP. Alright, we are going to use a couple of these just to determine, oh wait, to redo my music. There we go. Kind of just grab the keys that I need here. And Surrey Jack, are you still online, Mr. Customer? Surrey Jack? I think last we talked you wanted standard being 3 1U keys right there. Are you sure, or would you prefer them to be 2 1.5s? Actually, wait, before I even ask that, or before I... Does this set even support 2 1.5s? Yes, it does. Okay. Right, so if I can get those two, it should be good. Here, let me ping the customer again just to be absolutely sure. Like, hey, you want 3 1U to the right of spacebar, or 2 1.5U? There we go. We'll do that. Hopefully he replies soon. Ooh, that's a tight fit. Oh, he replied. Customer says 2 1.5s. Okay, perfect. That's the way I like it, actually. That's the way it should be. Alright, and this guy... Switch goes... See, Curran Tungala has subscribed. Thank you so much. And Haley Keyboard has followed. Thank you so much. Is NP profile uniform? Yes, it is. Said NP basically XDA. It definitely feels like XDA. Looks and feels like XDA. But here, I do have an XDA board. Let me just compare really quick. There we go. There's my XDA board. I'm gonna say that it is not. XDA seems a little bit more curved. All right. we go, we got those. I need 2 more keys to accommodate the 2 1.5 U's, and we should be good. We should be good with the bottom row. If you guys remember my last KBD75 build, the reason why I'm doing it like this is because I don't want to mess up installing the right modifiers, or specifically the spacebar key again like I did last time. See, Daniel says, what board was that? It was the Romeo. The Romeo from CFTKB. Oh, that plate is not clipping at all. There we go. Clipped. There we go. Looks good, feels good. Let's get this soldering. Haley says, was gonna get a Romeo, but shipping was more than the board. Yeah, I know, unfortunately. Static Age says, I love you can outfit a Romeo with most GMK base kits and not buy a 40 set. Absolutely. Alright, soldering the last batch of switches. We should be good. Just doing final assembly. Your Romeo gets a ton of desk time. It's such a great kit. Yeah, I tend to use it whenever I'm like gaming, or if I have a particularly large board that I need to solder. It's the board that I use. Alright, I think all those are straight, all those are flush. Last leg, literally quite the last leg. Let's see, Longenberry says, joined any group buys lately? The last group buy I joined was the Saturn 60 group buy. I think that one was just this past week, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it's still ongoing. I'll have to look at my little cheat sheet here. Alright, everything's soldered in. Everything is soldered in. Let's see if the board actually works, right? Alright, that's my Hive 60. Alright, via. Plug in, plug out. There we go. Now it detects it. Good, 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 good. Okay, let's make sure these are easily readable. I'm just gonna make this ABC at the very top here. And now let's just test it. Test, test, test. Yay, perfect. Perfect. And I just realized I probably should have configured. Here. Let's change the layout to be correct. Right mods. I want two 1.5s. Let's change that to be the macro key M01, or not the macro key, the FN key. There we go. That's good. That's good. We'll leave it like that. Dicky Jimmy says, saw the IC for the Delco. Really hope they do a 65. Me too, actually. Me too. Scott Water said, what color? I got the white one. I think he had like a special color name for it, but to me it was just a white one. Yeah, these feel great. Okay. All right. Let's actually assemble this board. Same here, white. Wanted to do a beige in 9009, but was afraid I'd get a board and not have anything else to put on it. The side cut looks a bit off. I think the Delco is probably one of the most beautiful 60s that I've seen in a while. If it's not too expensive, I would like to get it. But I know it's going to be like 400 or something crazy. Alright, here goes. Looks like I'm going to have to do some peeling. $450 easy, yeah. It's kind of really pricey. See, where are the screws? That has a screw in it. That has a screw in it too. Let's remove all the screws. $450 is a lot, yeah. Like, I get why it's $450, but at the same time, does it have to be that much? Ah, one more screw there. Does that fit? Yes, that fits. Did I unscrew it? It's always so hard to tell with these guys. You know, with something like this, I'll have to use something. Oh, just noticed my soldering iron's still on. Here, I'm gonna have to do this guy. This guy. There we go. Gotcha. You know what? This is probably one of the most satisfying and annoying things to do. Peeling acrylic. Abjad says, will I get the updated Satisfaction 75? Maybe, maybe not. Haven't quite decided quite yet. We'll see. Ah. There we go. One side. Let's do the other side. Daniel said, since we're talking about acrylic, what did you think of the Novelkeys Palette 65? I thought it was pretty cool. And in fact, I will have a prototype on stream sometime soon. The proprietor of the Novelkeys Palette 65 reached out to me and was like, hey Merlin, would you like to build one? And I said, yeah, sure. So I should be building one sometime in the near future. There we go. Ugh, so sticky. I've somehow managed to tangle it. Let's just cut it off. There we go. So the customer also sent me a, what do you call that? Also sent me some foam. Some kind of like, you know, the foam is going to cover a lot of the RGB. So I'm kind of like, okay, how's this supposed to go? Probably on the bottom, huh? There we go. Let's do that. And I feel like the foam's a little too big. Oh well. What, maybe? Huh. It doesn't really seem well cut, to be honest. Like what, is this supposed to... Here. Put this away. Does that make sense? Yeah, does it line up? Yeah, all the RGB lights line up with the holes. Okay. Okay. I feel like there should be another piece of foam here. If I remember correctly, the first build that I did had another piece of foam here. There's like nothing else in this box, so I guess that must be it. Must be it. It's kind of weird. Because that means this guy does go on top like that. Just so weird. So weird. Do full acrylic boards still have that luxury feeling of a metal board? I'd say just because just the way you asked that question, it's gonna be no. And I just realized the customer might have forgotten to send me screws because I have no way to screw the board in. I have no way to screw the board in. All that's left in the box is this. There's no screws. Here, let me check the shipping box. I know these are the stabilizers. Not in there. Okay, let me check the shipping box really quick, because at this point I have no way to secure this board into the case. Hold on. Let me check the shipping box. Yeah, there's nothing in there. Great, okay. That concludes the stream, ladies and gentlemen. Oh boy, there's no way to finish this. Like, I don't even see the rest of the screws to like put the case together. What the freak? Alright, I'm gonna have to reach back out to the customer. Yeah, that's all that's left in the box. Like, okay, maybe there's something underneath this. Nope. It's empty. No screws. Okay. There's nothing. There's nothing here. Okay. Least I can do is put on the feet. Here, I'll put on the feet at the very least. But that's really all I can do at this point. Improvised. Okay, so, okay. I'm going to really hope that it's the customer who forgot to send me the screws, not KBD fans forgetting to send the customer screws. Because that's a whole different story if that's the case. And unfortunately, it's actually also a very common story. Sorry, Jack. There are no screws. I can't screw the board together and I can't screw the PCB into the board. You don't have the screws either? That means KBD fans probably forgot to send you the screws. RIP. Dude, I remember when I met up with you, there was a... You like had another box of something. Maybe it's in there? Because there's really nothing else here other than the feet. Alright, at this point, this is as far as I can go with the build. Okay, Surjak, it looks like KBD fans forgot to send you the rest of the screws for this kit. You may want to reach out to them or ask on the KBD fans Discord if people know what the screws are, and maybe we can find you some screws from our local screw shop here. Hopefully, yeah. Like, KBD fans would probably take you a few weeks to like mail it to you, so I'd say just to ask around. Ask around, figure out exactly what the screws are, and then we'll just get it locally. Like... You know, we could even check like Hobbytown USA or something. But for the time being, this is probably as far as I can go. Yeah, see, so right now I have no screws to screw this in, and there are only 2 screws that are connecting the top half and the bottom half of the case together. Yeah, you'll reach out to the Discord. Alright. Well, at least the board works. We just won't get to hear it today, unfortunately. Yeah, I'll go put this in a nice ESD bag for you and we'll touch base later. We'll touch base off stream to figure out what to do. Meanwhile, I guess I'll just put the board as much. That's very funny and unlucky. Yeah, it happens. And I hate to say it, but it does happen more often than not. You are not the first person I've heard of that had missing screws. I myself had missing screws with my KBD75 build, so yeah, it's not... It's uncommon, but frequent enough that lots of people have experienced it. That's all I have to say about that. You are missing screws with your KBD75 as well? Okay, well, there we go. There we have it. Zark has had a screw loose for years. Uncommon, but kind of common. It's one of those situations. KBD ants. Yeah, wow. This is probably the first time this has ever happened to me on stream, where I had a build that could not be completed. Singapore, hello, hello. Zark's Xenophobia says, Zark, I need a gin. Do you need a gin or a alcoholic beverage called a gin? Yeah, man, we're... Siri Jack, this is probably as far as I can go with the stream, so I'm just packing up your board. What am I drinking tonight? I am just drinking orange juice. Nothing special. Nothing too special. Put all the keycaps back. Xenophobia doesn't drink alcohol. Oh yeah, I forget about that. Y'all ever tried Progressive Springs? Yes, I have. I'm a big fan of Gateron Yellows. Okay. Maybe it's an invisible screw. Transparent and magical. Oh yeah, you're right. Never thought about that. Alright. We'll leave that as is. There we go. Whew. Are the screws in the keycap box? That's actually a good question. Are the screws in the keycap box? You know, I would not put it past them, so I'm just gonna check. I'm just gonna check that it's not in the keycap box. Okay, you guys can be my witness. First layer of keycaps. Nothing, right? Another layer of keycaps. Nothing. Accents with nothing. Yep. No screws to be found. Yeah. That sucks. Alright, well, sorry, Jack. Let me know off stream. Just like message me here on Discord whenever you find a solution. If you can figure out what the screws are, there's a screw shop not too far away from my workplace that I can drop by after work one of these days. You can just pay me along with the rest of the bill, I guess. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe KBD fans can like fast ship some to you. Triple check the little box under your desk in your fridge. Yeah. Pretty sure it's not in there. The last time I built a KBD75, it was very, very, very obvious. Cruise Control TV rating with a party of 9. Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, you guys are joining in at the tail end of the stream. If you're just joining in right now, I attempted to build a KBD75 for a customer. Everything went well until we discovered that the manufacturer or the vendor, namely KBD fans, did not send enough screws to actually finish the build. So yeah, it's as far as I can get tonight. Here, I'll show you. This is as far as I can build tonight. A plate, PCB, switches soldered in, and all that. You know, that's it. That's as far as I can get. Well, you know, one other thing I can do tonight is clean off the excess flux, though I did a really good job limiting that tonight. So yeah, let's just do that. Let's just clean off all of the excess flux. We'll at least do that. Mochikomi says, other than QC issues, what is your opinion of the KBD75? The KBD75 V2 is a great entry-level 75%. For the longest time, I actually wanted one myself. Especially like my end goal was to get a KBD75 and then buy that PLA 75 case and put that in. But one thing I didn't really like about the KBD75 is that it's all compacted together. I like having my arrow keys and my rightmost column split out. Sound test with just the plate and PCB on the desk mat. That doesn't look like it's soldered in properly. Let me turn on my soldering iron again. Let's melt a bit of that solder. Are you using isopropyl? Yes, I am. That's not just a simple reflow. Need to actually add more solder. What are my thoughts on the Rama U80? I've never been unhappy with Rama products. I think they're all really great. Just that TKLs are really not for me. There we go. That's good. We good. Cheeky says, saw one of my GMK sets and thought I would pop in. Nice, thank you. Nuret says, Mech Merlin is the SE standard edition. Decimat still available? Decimat of what? You were looking at the Gold Rush set. Oh yeah. That is a set that still needs more interest before Project Keyboard will actually run it. So here, let me just execute the command there. Gold Rush. Or was it GMK Gold Rush? GMK Gold Rush, there we go. If you guys are interested, definitely hit up that link. Let's see, it's kind of been like low priority for me at the moment. I've just had so many things going on, and me still trying to keep up my YouTube channel and do all of these Twitch streams. All that stuff. While still doing a 40-hour per week job, and oftentimes more than 40 hours a week. See, you really like the set, would look nice on your boards. If any of you have GMK Cafe, the brown that I use for Gold Rush is the same brown that's being used for GMK Cafe. And it's funny because both Lang and I picked the same color, just like completely out of the blue. Cashmere Cat, what's my day job? I'm a software engineer. So what kind of software engineer, what do you make? For the longest time I was a firmware engineer, but these days I do most of my work in Ruby. If you guys are familiar with Chef configuration management, similar to Puppet or Salt or Ansible. Kind of in that same sphere. Switch Doctor says, I like the look of Gold Rush. Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there leftover solder on your board? No, it's not leftover solder. Whenever you solder, especially if you solder at a temperature that's super high, the flux that is commonly within solder will tend to explode and scatter around your board. I was very careful tonight and actually kept it at a minimum. So there's not too much of it, but this excess flux looks like yellow, looks brown, sometimes black if you held your iron there too long. So yeah, what's bad about this is that over time this excess flux can lead to oxidization, you know, and it can corrode all of your switch joints here, and once corrosion seeps in, it becomes a cold joint and your switch will no longer work. So over time could be, like in my experience, I've never seen it happen under 5 years. So all in all, like, I guess for most people in this hobby, it's not gonna matter too much since people sell their boards so fast. Can you zoom in on the board so you can see the difference? I'm already done, unfortunately. Yeah. Cat Merlin in 2023. Cheeky said, is that with all solder? No, it's not with all solder. Some solder has no flux in it, which also makes it harder to solder if you are not used to the soldering process. Yeah. Alright, so one way to know if you still have excess flux is after the brushing job. If your PCB feels sticky, it's because you've spread the residue all around your board. So now you need to just rub it off. Hold on, let me grab more Q-tips really quick. Yeah, so I highly recommend doing this procedure, especially if you have a light colored PCB, especially a white one, just because it makes it look so much nicer. Like if you have a black PCB, sometimes it's really hard to tell. It looks like I've done a pretty good job here already. Zark, once you get your house built, are we all invited? Doe says, what is your preferred temp when soldering? It really depends on the type of hardware that you use. For me, I use an old Weller WS51. I use Kester solder. Let's see, 6337. You know, it's the temperature in the room, I think, is a 71 right now. Like, with all those factors combined, I solder anywhere between, what's it set to right now? Between 530 and 570 Fahrenheit. Zark says, sure, yay! We'll ever make it to Australia. Are you cleaning the excess solder? No, you cannot clean excess solder with isopropyl alcohol and Q-tips. I am cleaning excess flux. Yeah. So yeah, okay. So the way that you can tell what the good temperature for you is, set it to something low, like set it to like 500, right? And then take your soldering iron and take your solder and touch it to your soldering iron. If it's not melting, keep upping it by around 5 to 10 degrees each time until you see it start to melt. So that's probably the lowest you should ever go once you see it start to melt. Now up it like maybe 5 degrees at a time until you get to the point where the solder melts instantly. And that's the point that you should be soldering for your particular type of solder and for your particular type of iron. That's the way it should be done. Like from there, you can probably up it maybe 5 to 10 degrees more. But once you get a little bit too high, what's going to happen with that particular piece of solder is that the flux will explode all over the place. Like, let's say, I guess you don't even need to have a PCB. Because you can test it out, right? Once you find that like correct temperature, right? Then you just touch it. You just touch it, and then you can start to feel it like exploding all over the place. If you pump it up like 10 or 15 degrees more, it will probably start hitting like your hands or something. So that's the point where you know that you've already used too high of a temperature. Cashmere Cat says, that explains what's been happening to me today. Yeah. It's like when you guys read online where someone says, oh, I solder at 650, or you hear someone say, this is the recommended temperature. I'm like, sure, that's a good starting point, but you should always find like the optimum setup for your equipment. It's kind of like talking with someone and saying, hey, how long should I fry my steak? And they're like, I like to fry my steak for 45 minutes. Does that mean you should do it for that you should fry your steak for 45 minutes? Maybe if you like well done, but you know. It's not exactly the same case for everyone out there. All right. I feel like that's as much as I can do tonight. Zark says, I used a hot plate to solder the gin as it was entirely SMT. Zen Gazer says, hold soldering iron on PCB for 45 minutes. So splatter equals too hot? Yes. If it's splattering too much, like, okay, there will be some splatter. No matter what you do, you can try and minimize it as much as I can. For me, I really should have shown the PCB beforehand, but I minimize the amount of splatter. I minimize the amount of flux residue around each pin by keeping mine at around 530 degrees with my setup, right? With my setup. If I had gone higher, it would have been a lot more noticeable. But I know for a fact that if I go any lower than 530, like if I went for 500, the solder wouldn't melt as fast anymore. So it's like a trade-off, you know. You wanna clean off all of that flux no matter what. Rocklina, so rare for you to catch me live. Really? Thank you so much. Wait, it's the weekend. Shouldn't you be working? Or are you on your phone? All right. Well, Lena, you kind of came in at the end of the stream. Can't finish the customer's board because KBD fans didn't send enough screws. So this is literally as far as I can go tonight, and I'm just chatting with people. You just got home. Awesome. No, maybe we should stop by. Maybe we'll stop by tomorrow. We'll see. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, shoots. I missed a subscribe. TLEBL530. Thank you for subscribing. Sorry for missing you. Guess I was busy trying to look for screws. Xenophobia said that low-key doxing. Let's see. What are you posting here? Why are you posting this key map? Do you need your personal solder lesson? Okay, yeah, we should definitely do that, but within 6 feet of each other. You copy pasted the wrong window. Hey, at least it wasn't like your banking information, right? See, Zalamar says, new to the game, I have a KBD75 and Flux isn't a word I've come across yet. Now I'm scared I went too deep, too fast. Social soldering. Social soldering. Well, yeah, well, we'll figure something out. We'll figure something out. Yeah. Social distance soldering. Yeah, you kind of have to like, okay, so my eyesight is no longer as good as it used to be. Like, in order for me to see how I'm soldering, I really do need to be at this distance, right? Like, if I stood up, I just wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing anymore. Like, I could guess, but I wouldn't be able to tell if the joints were conical or not. Xenophobia says, that feel when you can't delete your own messages from Twitch, even as a mod. Hey, at least you did not post your personal information. Not like that one keyboard that I did where I was like testing it out and I was like, oh, this board has macros. What does this macro do? And I pressed it and their email popped out. I'm like, oh, too much information. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, it is about 10 p.m. here in Seattle, Washington. I think I'm going to call it quits and start preparing for tomorrow evening's show. So for all of you who joined in from the start, thank you. Thank you so much for joining in and watching me build another customer's board. Just as a quick recap, customer asked me to build a KBD75 V2 with cream switches, which I lubed as well. And unfortunately, KBD fans did not send all the screws required, so this is as far as I can go tonight. But who knows, maybe in another week or something I can finally do a typing test. Alright guys, thank you for joining in and have a good rest of your evening, morning, or afternoon, wherever you guys might be. Alright guys, see ya hopefully tomorrow. Good night.